I'm Jack Kim. I'm the Executive Director of Han Voice, one of the co-hosts of the 10th Annual International Conference on Human Rights and Refugees.
So my name is Kayam Park, and I'm a local family doctor here in Toronto. I'm here because, first of all, I'm Korean, and so I feel passionate about the issues regarding South and North Korea. And also because I befriended a few North Korean refugees, I've really gotten to know these people, and they've become my friends. And it's not an issue that I can ignore anymore. It became a real issue in my life.
I'm Shavita Patti. I'm training to become a public health physician, and I guess the reason why I'm here today is primarily because of Kai. I guess she's my Korean connection, and also because I do have a keen interest in human rights and social justice issues, and I just feel it's a big part of my public health world.
It's important to have this conference for a few reasons. One, it's important on an awareness-raising level. This happens in different countries. It's the first time it's happened in North America, and that's a very exciting thing to have Canada chosen as a host. The second reason is that there are a lot of very important decision makers who come to this conference, and not only to raise their awareness, but to really provide a catalyst for change on the human rights level in North Korea.
Yes, immensely.
I thought they did a fantastic job. I think they just addressed it from many different perspectives, which was also really great. And I felt very inspired and stimulated by a lot of the ideas that were floating around. And I guess I do feel a bit of hope coming.
So, yeah, and that's exactly what I feel is that, before I think, we wanted to address a human rights issue that's going on in North Korea, and it was more kind of angry and dark, and these are what's happening, and we have to grieve and things like that. But now it's more like we're hopeful, and we have come here to celebrate our own liberty. Just the fact that we're able to get here on our own on our own accord, basically, and we want to get together and to celebrate our freedom to be able to talk about stuff like this.
That we need to create a big tent. This big tent has to include people from the humanitarian side and from the perspective of political ideology. It's something that we need to include progressives on as well. I mean, I'm not a conservative by any means, but there are people who kind of paint this whole North Korean human rights movement under a conservative brush, and to a certain extent, that's what it looks like, because conservatives are the only ones who are advocating on this. And so to do this, we need to create some common language. We need to find some common ground where both conservatives, progressives, right or left, or whatever labels you want to use, can come and really contribute to making some real changes in North Korea. We need to create a movement and to move this away from a Korean issue into a global issue. As part of that, we need to outreach to people who are outside the Korean community. And for us, the Korean Canadian community is a base, but on that front, we need to expand from that. We need to have people from all ethnicities to really care about this issue. Things that we talked about was thinking about post North Korea. Right. And I know CanKor blog and Eric has done a lot of work on this, on the scenario building side, but we need to really think about what's going to happen after North Korea. Thinking about things like unification tags, thinking about how to rebuild North Korea is very important. And with Han Voice, that's something that we've been thinking about. I mean, people talk to us and say, if the human rights situation goes away, if North Korea becomes a better place, then Han Voice can cease to exist, and that's not the case. I mean, that's the easy part. I think as when a Vietnamese general said about the Vietnam War, the war was the easy part. It's rebuilding the country that's hard, and that's the case with North Korea, especially with everything that's happened and the cultural differences that are evident right now. So, and if we're not ready for that point in time, I think that does terrible injustice to the North Korean people, and it's an act of irresponsibility to the point where we need to really think about it. And I think well, we have one overarching goal and two ways to do that. The overarching goal was to create a grassroots movement of Canadians, we're Canadians now because we're in Canada, and we're not too greedy, but an overarching movement of Canadians who care about North Korea and are willing to do something about it. And to do that, we believe that we need to bring the issue here. Two ways to do that. One is sponsorship agreements. And just to go a little bit into detail about that, basically any Canadian organization, whether it be private individuals, churches, even companies, can sponsor refugees to come to Canada, and it's a substantial amount of money. It's about $10,000 per refugee, or $25,000 for a family. The second one is something that's been echoed throughout the conference, is one of capacity building, and capacity building for North Koreans for the future. But if Canadian organizations can start sponsoring refugees, then we bring the issue here. We bring North Koreans here, and then that naturally sparks an interest both in North Korea and the human rights issue and everything that goes on within it. So we're trying to find organizations to do that and possibly even fundraise enough money so the convoys can bring one refugee here as a symbolic measure. That in turn is something, that's ammunition that we can bring to our own government to say, hey, private organizations can do this. I think the Canadian government can step up and do something along those lines. And for instance, in a funds matching program, or even matching a refugee for another refugee for every private sponsor that's coming up. So those are the overarching goals that we're trying to achieve here. If you go to North Korea, and we had a chance to talk to some North Korean university students who are enrolled in South Korean universities right now, and their chief hurdle right now is English. South Korea the educational system in South Korea is based on a heavy focus on English. At one university, we encountered students had to pass the TOEIC exam, had to get a score of 750 out of 1,000, I think, just to graduate. And for North Koreans, that's an incredible hurdle because they have no grammatical structure, they have no education, and to the point that they're just piecing words together. And so it's very difficult for them. And as Canadians, we have a comparative advantage of being an English-speaking country to bring these people over here, not only to learn English, but to take them away from a very bustling, hard environment, and then just to have them grow as leaders and to send them back and empower them so they can take care of not only themselves, but North Korea in the future. Yes, I read it every day. No, I do. And every time you post something new, I'm very. One of the things is that a lot of the blogging that happens on this issue comes from a certain perspective when we're talking about right-left divide, and it's useful to have perspectives from all angles. Just because, and so you read Fox News and you read the Huffington Post at the same time.
Yeah.